Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
But to the viewer from Toronto who says, what's the most intense game you've ever been involved in? Viewers obviously watching on the Game Plus TV network.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I don't think you, or ma'am, I've needed police escorts out of facilities. I've needed police escorts out of cities. So you're going to need to define intense. I assume you mean on the playing field. I've been threatened in many facilities across this country, all because of my own actions. But was there a game more intense for you than the 2007 Grey Cup?
I think the Grey Cups in general, like I say 09 and 10 were big time Grey Cups too for me as far as intensity. But if you get away from the Grey Cups, I would say that rematch against Montreal,
Canada Day comeback.
Yeah, that 50, what was it, 51, 54, or 50, whatever. With 50 something to 50. That was just back and forth. We
Triple
were down
overtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were down 3. We had another 13-man penalty that almost ruined the game for Saskatchewan again. Had great catches left and right. Everybody was, it was just, if you weren't a CFL fan and you watched that game, you would have been a CFL fan after that. That was the best, probably the best CFL game I've ever seen, been a part of. And it was intense. After we closed the gap before half, that second half was the most intense thing ever.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hilarious. Is this an Archie's comic? Who's hotter, Betty or Veronica?
Oh, man, Betty.
We can't sit here and talk about the hottest cartoon characters. It's disturbing. John, by the way, has looked it up, drawing sexual arousal to cartoon characters.
How about that?
I think Rod would do a great interview with an expert on people attracted to cartoon characters. Not happening, it's a sports show.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
You guys always get me with that stuff. Welcome to the RP Show, everybody. We are taking off for the next 2 hours. Episode number 1496 of the RP Show coming your way. I think I have the number right. I'm in the South Florida studio, and I think Moose is in the Toronto studio, but as we were going to air, he wasn't in his seat. That's what they told me. Okay, he's here now. And I feel like you've spent some extra time on your hair today, Moose. What's going on? Do you have a job interview this afternoon, or are you going out in the town?
Not my
or
finest effort.
It's just another day.
Okay today. Yeah, just another day.
Okay. We've got a lot to get to today. 13-year NHL veteran Rich Sutter is the guest. He's coming up in hour 2 from the Hockey's First family. And it's a very big night. My Florida Panthers, and I say that because I'm wearing their gear and I live here. I'm not dyed-in-the-wool fan of theirs, but you know I'm the Panther guy because it serves me today. They're visiting the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. That's Moose's team. You have yet to wear Leafs gear in this series. You were wearing a Leafs hat this morning when you were out for a walk because I saw you. Darren, what is your thinking here that you're not backing your team? I want to know.
I'm not that diabolical or methodical in how I do things. To be honest, I have 2 articles of clothing that have a Maple Leafs logo on them. One is the long sleeve. I think I might have worn it on this show once or twice, maybe. And then my hat is like a ratty old workout hat that I wear in the gym. I could maybe pull that out for the show. I don't know.
Translation, folks, he doesn't want to give up his secrets. That's the translation, okay? So that's fine. That's fine. Can you hit the quick six show horn tuna and let's get down to business. Let's go. We got a long time to talk about the game Elliot Friedman referred to as huge, this one tonight. But first, we open with the big story, which I'm not even sure it's the biggest story right now, but for the purposes of this show, it is. We have a lot of viewers in Winnipeg, of course. Mikhail Granlund scored 3 times, including 2 on the power play, and Jake Ottinger made 31 saves. And the Dallas Stars beat the visiting Winnipeg Jets 3-1 Tuesday night to grab a 3-1 lead in their second-round series. Nikolai Ehlers scored for the Jets, who lost their 5th straight road playoff game. They're 0-5 on the road in the playoffs. Game 5 Thursday in Winnipeg. The question is, does it end in Winnipeg? Based on the numbers, no, it doesn't. It'll end in Game 6 in Dallas, but I don't know. I'm enjoying the coverage of the series. I'm enjoying the coverage of all the series. I'm taking in all the opinions. But if you want to break it right down to brass tacks, Dallas is up 3-1 in this series. They're the better team in this series, I'm sorry to say. And if you want to bang on Hellebuck, or if you want to bang on the officiating, which my guy Bob, sponsor Bob, did. He said that he didn't like the double minor against Hayden Fleury early in the third period. I do have time for that. But the Jets aren't going to win this series. There's a lot to unpack. But you picked them to win this series, so are you disappointed in? I'm sure you are. What are you disappointed in from a Winnipeg perspective?
Yeah, it is tough, and we can go back and forth on the officiating or the goaltending. But at the end of the day, I thought, you put enough pucks towards Jake Ottinger, got to do a little bit better job finding better opportunities, but put enough pucks towards him. You need some to bounce your way. You need to find a way to get up in the game and take control, and they just haven't done that. And that's more of a credit though to Dallas. They're a great hockey team. They're still the Stanley Cup favorite. They're, deeper. They got Heiskanen back last night, which I think he only played like 15 minutes though last night, but they get him back. Their number 1 defenseman, one of the best in the league. They're a team that continues to get better every game. So if Winnipeg is going to extend this series, I think it's far from over, but if they're going to extend the series, they got to find another gear. I know that's kind of typical or, cliche to say, but they need to find it.
902-518-3033 is the Progressive Insurance text line if folks would like to join the conversation as we go, or in the streaming chat as we're live on YouTube as well. Rich in Edmonton writes in and he says, the Jets seem to lack any physicality whatsoever. So did the Blues series wear them down? I don't know, but it's interesting that you say that because I'm hearing now, I'm seeing on social media what fans are saying, I'm hearing what the media is saying. Connor Hellebuck has been out-goaltended in this series by Jake Ottinger. There's no doubt about it. And this morning on NHL radio, they were picking apart Connor Hellebuck's post-game comments last night. And I've got a lot of thoughts on this. The pundits are saying, oh, is it mental? Well, of course it's mental. Can you not see that? Cannot Stevie Wonder not see that? He's going to win his 3rd Vezina this year for regular season play, but he has not had a sniff of the Stanley Cup. Of course, he's proven that he has the physical ability. Come playoff time, he tends to fold. And now this isn't necessarily all on him. Like that game last night, Dallas was in total control for the whole game. So this isn't on Connor Hellebuck. He's making some somewhat odd statements, like he said, I'm doing the best I can. But at least he's speaking to the media. Like there's a lot of things, and I hope they've got a sports psychologist in there working with him. That would seem obvious, but teams don't always do the obvious things in these situations. I'm glad he's talking to the media, Darren, because for years he hasn't. And running away, it says here, ain't ever going to solve your problem. So he's standing there and he's facing the tough questions. The answers are a little odd, but at least he's dealing with it. And, coming out of round 1, he said the pressure's off. I kind of tended to believe with him. But the point here is they didn't score enough. This isn't all on Hellebuck. But if you want to see a goalie, watch tonight. Sergei Bobrovsky. Even Serena said this the other night. She's like, when it was 2-0 Panthers after 2 against the Leafs, she's like, oh, it's done. Bob ain't giving this up. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on Hellebuck?
It's tough because the Jets didn't score enough. 1 goal is not going to win you a series, and 3 is. I don't put the loss on Connor Hellebuck. But you're right; he's been out goaltended by Jake Ottinger in this series, and that's not a good look and a good place to be. Now he did talk to the media, which he doesn't usually do after losses, and that was good. He answered the questions and stood in front of it and standing up to it. So that's good. That kind of gives me a little bit of optimism that his head is
Yes.
kind of becoming in the right place, that he's going to try and face this head on, so to speak, and come back in the next one and play really well, in game 5. That's what he needs to do. Can't worry about what happened in the past. Has to worry about game 5, and he has to come up with his best game of the playoff.
Well, and it's not like I got all the answers, although I do have a national TV show. I was just saying, not a big deal. But I saw them saying this morning on NHL radio, they're like, well, maybe they need to bring in a guy next year that can play 45, 50 games as a backup and take the load off Hellebuck in the regular season. Maybe they wore him out of the regular. We're not talking about next year now. You talk about that when the series is over. What are you talking about that now for? I don't know. But whatever. Everybody has all their own opinions. So they're going. And that's the other thing. When do they make the goaltending change? Well, look at the Four Nations face-off. If you remember, Jordan Binnington wasn't perfect through the whole series, but what did we say? John Cooper stuck with Jordan Binnington. And they won the championship game in overtime. The Jets have to stay with Connor Hellebuck, no matter what. No matter what. And I don't need to ask your opinion because I'm sure you agree. You're not going to start Eric Comrie at any point in this series, right?
Not a
Okay, I couldn't hear you. Yeah, either I broke up or you broke up or whatever. Tuna, how's the sound? Is the sound coming through okay? Tuna's producing the program today. Yeah, Darren, your mic is quiet. Move up to it or turn it up. I just can't hear you. I thought it was me. John Ohm writes in. He says, the Jets need to score goals. It's not all on Helly. And he says teams that are up 3-1 win 91% of the series. And Carlos in Indianapolis says, and if you lose a series after leading 3-1, you become a meme. Now isn't the time, I don't think, for bringing up history. If you want to bet on who's going to win this series, you're probably going to want to put money on Dallas. But I don't think it's over either. I'm with Darren on this series is not over. You stick with Hellebuck, and it's up to him. And maybe, guys, give him a little help. 902-518-3033. This, to me, is what I think is the big story. Even bigger than this. The hockey. Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson received a posthumous reprieve from MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred Tuesday, making both players eligible for the Sports Hall of Fame after their careers were tarnished by gambling scandals. But make no mistake, baseball players gambling on baseball remains the sport's cardinal sin. If anything, the game's integrity is even more important and more tightly policed than ever. Okay, so this is something. I know you got thoughts. You put it in your column, the Moose Droppings column at rodpeterson.com. I kind of chuckled a little bit when I heard this news yesterday. I was like, he's dead. So, too little, too late, Rob. That's the first thing I thought. That's still what I think. And then I turned on Pardon the Interruption last night, and I'm watching Wilbon and Kornheiser. As you know, I watch it every night. And Wilbon said, what do you expect, a hot take here? What do you want us to say? He's dead. We're talking specifically about Pete Rose. So to me, I don't even care anymore. The interesting addendum to this, or the offshoot, was the family of Bart Giamatti, the commissioner who originally suspended and banned Pete Rose for life. Giamatti's dead, but his kid came out and said the kid is wild. The family's upset. The Giamatti family is upset. You've overturned our dad's decision. Well, he's dead too. So we're sitting here talking about a couple of dead guys. I don't understand. There's the easy way out to reinstate him now. Those are my initial thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, a little bit. I kind of wondered if this was going to be the case. And to me, I think we talked about it on the show that I kind of maybe expected it to happen. But yeah, for me, though, this is nothing to do with Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson, and it's more about baseball. Because for Pete Rose specifically, he deserves the place to be among the history of the game because he's part of the history of the game. and his numbers and what he did, and also the gambling and all of it deserves to be among the. It is part of baseball's history, and so the career on the field was Hall of Fame worthy. Great, but there should be that story. And I think if he does go into the Hall, let's remember he's not going into the Hall yet. The writers still have to vote him into the Hall of Fame. And do the writers want him in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. Curious. They're not letting Barry Bonds or Mark McGuire or Roger Clemens or any of those former players, but now they're still alive, right? But this is not about Pete Rose and giving this honor to Pete Rose. This is about putting Pete Rose's history and what he means to the game in the Hall of Fame for everybody else to remember.
Which disgusts me even more, to be honest with you. So this isn't righting or wrong. They waited till he was dead, basically, is what you're saying. Am I right? Am I paraphrasing what you're saying? Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes, and he says, the decision to ban Rose is probably what killed Bart Giamatti. Carlos in Indiana says, and when Pete was alive, MLB dragged him out whenever it was convenient and shunned him whenever it was convenient. I guess I'm not big on lifetime bans unless you've been caught murdering somebody. Yeah, there's a justice system for a reason. I mean, at some point, were brought up as little kids in the 70s and 80s. Oh, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Shane, Shane, Shane. This is like, bad. And did he deserve that? He's been exonerated here too. You know, so what purpose does it serve other than what Darren just said? I've seen people say, oh, it's because of the family. The family didn't do jack squat. It's Pete Rose that should have been in the Hall of Fame and had his ban ended. I'm just saying, it's a crime and punishment. You do the crime, you do the time, then you get free. That's the way society is set up. Sports largely is not. Maybe baseball is that not set up that way, but we see other guys back in the game. Stan Bowman, Joel Quenneville in hockey. I digress. Michael Vick played in the NFL again, for the love of God, after spending 2 years in jail, and I never thought that would happen. Anyways, moving on. I'm just getting going, Darren, as are you. Point 3, Cooper Flagg is starting to settle into his new reality. He's been considered the presumptive #1 pick in next month's NBA draft for some time, and now knows that pick is held by the Dallas Mavericks. It's a rare Texas two-step of #1 picks for Dallas, because the Dallas Wings of the WNBA last month took with the #1 pick UConn's Paige Beckers. Speaking of the draft lottery, you have thoughts. We don't have a ton of time here. We can carry this over after the break, but you said NFL or ESPN, they're like a day behind what we were talking about yesterday. Should the NFL have a draft lottery like the other leagues? And you were spellbound by the discussion.
Well, yeah, Mike Greenberg, the host on Get Up, and he used to have a radio show too. He's on NFL Countdown. He adamantly thinks the NFL needs a draft lottery because tanking is the worst possible thing that could happen in sports. And he's not wrong. The counter arguments were that tanking doesn't really happen in the NFL. Otherwise, the Giants wouldn't have lost to the Colts late last year and lost the #1 overall pick. They would have won. They would have lost that game. They wouldn't have beat the Colts, but they did. So there is still an argument to be had on either side. But it is a conversation that's heating up. And I don't remember this conversation happening last year or the year before or the year before that. I kind of only, remember it happening in the NFL now.
I don't ever remember it being discussed. I've heard before the reasons why, and they're not good ones. Why? Basically, that's the way it's always been. I don't like that way of thinking at all, because society changed, things change. But what I did see, like, I'm a little late to the party here, but when I went to the party at Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl I was ever at in Los Angeles, Super Bowl 56, I'm talking about Mike Ditka and Ron Jaworski, I saw the old NFL. And let me tell you, it's something to behold. But to say that these guys don't like change much, that might not surprise you all. The prosthetic hips, the blue hair, the trophy wives, the things you see in the movies, they don't like change. Largely, that's the biggest reason why there's no lottery in the NFL. No draft lottery. So we can unpack that. We got tonight's NHL games. We got the Blue Jays. We have a whole lot to get to, so we'll be right back. We're live here on the Game Plus television network across Canada and 32 U.S. states, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. Celebrating 35 years of music. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We're broadcasting from Studio 23. Today it's a Tuna Turner production. What's love got to do with it? And just quickly in the Quick Six show topics, you can bring the Moose on if you wish. Point 4, the Toronto Blue Jays, who blew a 7-6 lead heading into the ninth and lost 11-9 last night, will look to bounce back tonight and in Game 2 of a 3-game set against the Tampa Bay Rays. Righty Chris Bassett will be on the mound for the Jays while the Rays counter with righty Ryan Pepio. All the Florida Panthers staff were at the game last night, by the way. Maybe they were the bad luck charm for the Jays. And the Edmonton Oilers, point 5, can clinch a spot in the NHL's Western Conference Final with a win tonight in Vegas. They lead their second-round series 3-1. Meanwhile, the Leafs host the Panthers in Game 5. That series is 2-2. It feels like now's a good time, Darren, to tell the folks what the poll question is today for EMJ Marketing. EMJ Marketing will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Check out their roster at emjmarketing.com. Who will win the games tonight? There are two. Florida at Toronto, Edmonton at Vegas. Just so you know, leading the way, the Canadian teams. The 44% of respondents are saying Toronto and Edmonton will win tonight in the two games. I am not saying that. As a matter of fact, bring the Moose back on. I picked Dallas to win last night. Moose picked Winnipeg. We all know what happened. The Stars won 3-1. I've gone up 24-21 in the aggregate. And it looks like we might have a betting partner coming on board. That's very exciting with our NHL breakaway picks. Do you want to go down the road of the picks tonight now, Darren? I feel like we should.
We can. I need a second, but yeah, I'm ready. You go ahead. You tell me who you got tonight.
Well, okay, I got Florida to win tonight, and I've got Vegas to win tonight. Vegas to extend the series tonight. They're not going to fold in the fortress, and I feel like Florida's got. I do feel they have some momentum, although I'm the guy that doesn't believe in momentum from game to game to game. I think we can all see the Stars are getting. The Panthers are getting a lot stronger in this series, and I think they'll win tonight. And Vegas will extend it at home. There you go.
Yeah, they got a ton of momentum. You're right. And Vegas hasn't been manhandled like they were manhandled in the last game against Edmonton. Like, I could totally see Florida and Vegas winning these games tonight. I really could. I could see Vegas bouncing back, but I'm going to go with the two Canadian teams tonight. Give me Toronto and Edmonton to win tonight. I'm going to go with the two. Let's go.
How about that? Folks, you can chime in with your picks tonight. I would be interested in hearing what everybody else has to say on the YouTube chat or the Progressive Insurance text line, 902-518-3033. I was listening to NHL radio this morning while out for the run, and it just makes me so happy. And Chris Pronger was on there, and tell me if you agree with this, because I do. Pronger is just... He's been on this show. He just seems like the best guy. I've never actually met him in person, but he's like, Austin Matthews hasn't played bad. But they told the story about Harry Sinden being on Cam Neely's butt in the 80s with the Bruins, and when he was struggling to score in the playoffs. I guess Cam Neely said to the owner, to Harry Sinden, the GM of the Bruins, he goes, well, I'm getting chances. And Sinden goes, we don't pay you to get chances. We pay you to score. Is there a little of that with Austin Matthews, or what do you think here in round two?
There's a ton of that with Austin Matthews. And if he doesn't score, this Leafs team's not going to win very many hockey games. I know they were winning games without him scoring. And yes, he's still contributing. He's a really strong defensive player. He's good in the faceoff circle. He does other things. But we're paying you to score goals. You get paid to score goals. Simple as that. And so William Nylander, John Tavares have been the two best Leafs. You can add Matthew Nyes to that mix as well, but it should be Austin Matthews on a night-to-night basis, and it hasn't been all playoffs.
Well, this Game Plus television is anchored out of Toronto, so let's hear from you, Leaf Nation. I'm like literally the only guy waving the Panthers flag in this, and let's be honest, this has been a homer series. The home teams have won every game. I expect that'll... Well, I guess I've picked Florida tonight, so I can't say I expect that to continue, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Toronto be a completely different team tonight. How do you think the two-game break has affected the series? Because Elliot Friedman was on there this morning saying that the worst possible thing happened for the Leafs is that they had to wait 2 days after their last loss. Because when you lose, you'd really like to get right back out there. How do you think that's affected things?
I actually disagree with Elliot. I think the 2-day break is great. I think, I think it helps too for both of these teams. If you're not healthy either, if there's a little bit of that going on, we talked about that earlier in the week with Austin Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk potentially not being healthy. I think as a hockey fan, you want both those guys at their best. So a chance for both of them to reset a little bit and hopefully come out and have their best games respectively of the playoffs. I think the 2-day break can be a good thing. The 1 day off between games 3 and 4 wasn't a good thing for Toronto. You lost game 3, came right back out and had your worst game of the playoffs. So the 2-day break, I think, can be a good thing for Toronto.
There you go. Moose has the Oilers and Leafs to win tonight. I have the Panthers and Golden Knights, the opposite. Now that I look at that makes things fun, doesn't it? The comments are raining down on everything that we've talked about. We kind of bill ourselves as Canada's pardon the interruption here, but what they don't do is involve the audience like we do, and I really enjoy that. We've got a lot of topics on the table here. Talking about Pete Rose being reinstated, talked about the NBA draft lottery and should the NFL have one. Darren in Utah writes in, he says, tanking in the NFL gets you fired. In the NBA, your coach gets a contract extension like Will Hardy for the Jazz. Every team's different. I got to be careful because from what I understand, the NFL people are watching what we say here. But here in Miami, the owner, Stephen Ross, was accused by former head coach Brian Flores of trying to pay him to tank games late. So when you say it's going to get you fired, the owner was trying to get him to tank games. That was the accusation, to the degree of, I'll give you $100,000 a loss, is what Brian Flores contended the owner told him. And in the end, that was not proven, but Stephen Ross was still suspended 6 months for tampering, trying to get Tom Brady out of Tampa Bay. So just saying, it's different in every city and every situation and every scenario. But I think the resounding result of the poll yesterday the way was that no, the NFL should not have a draft lottery. I wonder, do you think we see a day where they do? Or, Darren, because there's been so much talk by reputable pundits that the NBA draft lottery is rigged, even LeBron hinted at it, that the NFL would want no part of that. I think there's something to that.
Yeah, there's something to that. And the other thing that came up over the last couple of days and this morning as I was watching more coverage was maybe the biggest reason why the NFL should and maybe will have a draft lottery. And that is one more night on the calendar where you can grab massive TV ratings. You're telling me that the ratings wouldn't be through the roof for an NFL draft lottery? You'd parade it out. You'd have the stars there, the young players, the prospects, coming into next year with Arch Manning filling the Cooper Flag role. You got Archie Manning sitting there, or the young kid Arch Manning ready to go as the number one pick. And we're going to have a lottery to see who gets him. Like, that would be a really, really big deal for the NFL. Forget about tanking. It's another night where they can own television. And that kind of feels like what the NFL is all about.
You might be onto something there, Moose. It's a hodgepodge. It's a buffet. It's a golden corral of sports talk today. That's why you all assembled here today. I'm hoping you're having as much fun as I am. I have a cool question to you and for the viewers in a second, particularly the CFL fans. So listen up in a second. Just from the audience, regarding the Dallas Stars going up on Winnipeg last night, 3-1. Ted is watching in Edmonton, and he writes in and he says, Ted in Edmonton says, when Dallas throws a green blanket over teams, they're very hard to beat. I'm watching them last night going Seguin, Rantanen, Heiskanen back, if I'm saying that right. They're just too good. They're better than Winnipeg. I'm sorry. And Ted says Edmonton and Toronto will win tonight. Thank you, Ted, for answering the bell. I feel like you were the only one that was paying attention when I said that. Gary in Winnipeg. Gary writes in and says, I was fortunate to meet Pete Rose while in Las Vegas in 2005. I told him that he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. What was his reaction? Gary, I'd like to know. I met him in Vegas, too, but I didn't ask him or say anything about that. I was just getting my picture taken with him. It was in the, what do you call it, Planet Hollywood, Miracle Mile Shops. Just before, Darren, I got a massage right there in the middle. You know how you've been with me.
Yeah,
not that day, but you've been with me. So I talked to Amar Doman this morning, the owner of the BC Lions. Again, another close friend. Not a big deal. It's actually quite a big deal. Amar Doman's a really cool guy, and everybody's saying that he is the best owner in the CFL. They announced yesterday that Snoop Dogg will play their home opener on June 7th against the Edmonton Elks. And I want to say this. CFL guy here, obviously. Love it. Love it. If Amar Doman isn't the best owner in the CFL, who is? Let me just say that. And we could sit here and have a discussion for hours about all the leagues. Who's the best owner? In the CFL, who, if it's not Amar Doman, because I'm sitting here going, yeah, I think it might be Amar Doman, but the problem is they haven't won a championship. He hasn't been around that long. What he's done is taken them from the league floor, doormat, to up here status. I think they were the only team that made money last year. They're filling BC Place. They got the exciting concerts going on. Number one in jersey sales, which I think is a really big deal. But they haven't won a Grey Cup. And I don't think they will this year. If you want to go by wins, and you have to discount the community-owned teams, I'm sorry, but you do. Winnipeg and Sask, you don't get to play. You'd have to go with MLSE. Would have to say MLSE is the best owner in the CFL based on winning is the thing, isn't it? Have I given you enough time to think about this?
Winning matters, man. Winning matters. They are very successful when it comes to what they've done with the Argonauts lately. Winning. I like the new owner in Edmonton, and I think they're going to be on the right track. Montreal's done some good things. They've all done some things that have been, pretty good. But I'm with you. Amar Doman in BC is leading from the front. He's leading from the front, and he's doing a great job. He's got that community excited about BC Lions football. And I think they're going to be excited about the group they have. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to win some games, and they're going to entertain the fans. And that's kind of what you want.
I'm just throwing it out there. And the reason I even bring it up is that Amar Doman is going to come on this show on Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. For everybody that needs to know, Amar will be on here. He's cool. He's been the supporter of this show. And here's the thing is the owners don't win the championships. The people they hire do. Literally, Amar has done as much as he can. I would say he does more than any other owner. And eventually they will win. Oh, it would be the greatest story ever if they win with Nathan Rourke as the quarterback and Amar Doman the owner. And at some point, I think that they will. But if you go based on winning, it has to be MLSE. A footnote on this before we break. I asked Gary, what did Pete Rose say when you told him he should be in the Hall of Fame? Gary writes in from Winnipeg and says, Pete smiled and said, thank you. And he shook my hand. Sidebar, Pete Rose's son played for the Winnipeg Goldeyes. I've met a few people that have met Pete Rose, one of which is Jeff Rimmer, the original voice of the Panthers, Florida Panthers, and he said he loved Pete Rose. There's been a lot of talk about Pete Rose, right, in the last couple of days since he's been reinstated, since he died. And they said he was very vulgar. Oh, yeah, he'd be the first sports guy like that might drop the odd F-bomb, maybe a little rough around the edges. That's the saddest part is those guys aren't allowed anymore. We'll be back. We're live here on Game Plus. Rich Sutter coming up in hour 2. We're streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. Celebrating 35 years of music. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It's just the greatest thing. It's daytime sports talk here on the Game Plus television network. We are on Canadian television coast to coast and in 32 U.S. states, including the beautiful state of Florida, where I reside, for another 2 more weeks. And then I'll be headed back to Canada for the summer, and quite frankly, I can't wait. Moose is in Toronto. And, yeah, Moose, you haven't been to a Jays game this year yet, huh? When have you got that penciled in? When you go, or have you been?
I know, not one. No, you're right. I haven't. It is penciled in, though. Not in pen, it's in pencil. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're talking about going to the ballpark, getting to a game.
Okay, good stuff. There's a lot going on. Tony in Cochrane, Alberta, writes in and he says, sorry, I joined late. I heard you talking about Pete Rose. I had to rewind and start from the beginning. I agree with Moose. And Charlie Hustle doesn't need to be exonerated. He is a Hall of Famer regardless. No. That sounds great to say. You and I both know that. But that's not enough. That's not. Some guys need and deserve the recognition. I say it a lot about Theoren Fleury. We've had this discussion at his kitchen island about this. Theoren Fleury is a Hall of Famer. It's not right until he goes in. I've been trying to. Theo, you're a Hall of Famer. Why do you care? He deserves to be in. And there's nothing saying Pete Rose is even going to get in. He's just now eligible to get in, as we talked about. So we'll see. We're talking about who's the best owner in the CFL. Dwayne from Tway, Saskatchewan writes in. He says, CFL, give it to me. Love it. Oh, put it in my veins. We're all the same. But we're just not quite there yet. I'm not getting horny over training camp results, so just stand down. Ted in Red Deer writes, Ted in Edmonton writes, and he says, I can't wait for the CFL season to start with the best crop of quarterbacks in recent years. Oh, you guys, you're getting me into it. I will say this about the CFL, because we'll talk more hockey today because the Stanley Cup playoffs are still front and center, and the NFL schedule releases tonight. But I do have 0.6 here, CFL, NFL under our random, so I don't mind talking about it for a second. Camps are underway. There was a fight on the field at training camp in Saskatoon yesterday, which incidentally is exactly, Darren, this is the 10-year anniversary of you and me meeting. 2015. I know you mentioned that in your column at Rough Riders Camp. But the head coach, Corey Mace, defending West Division Coach of the Year, said, if you fight in practice, you're done. Get out. You're kicked off the field. Because when I saw there was a fight in camp, I'm like, so what? There's a fight every year. But I've never seen a coach kick the guy off the field, or guys. And I'm like, ooh, he means business, which totally makes sense. You get kicked out of a game if you fight, so why would it be okay to stay? But I'd never heard of that before, our coach doing that. Have you?
No, not in that regard. I mean, there's been some bad fights, I think, where guys have left or whatever, but no, I like it. It's business now. It's not fun and games. This is training camp. It's business. So, and you're right. I like the comparison. I wasn't thinking about that. You do it in a game, you're kicked out of the game. So you do it in practice, you're kicked out of practice. I like it. I respect it.
I've just literally never heard a coach doing that before in football, and I've worked with so many up close and personal. I like that Corey Mace guy. And the reason I was talking with Amar Dolman, the owner of the BC Lions, is they announced Snoop Dogg will play their home opener June 7th. BW in Edmonton writes in, he says, my daughter still talks about Vanilla Ice at Commonwealth Stadium in the 2000s. I was calling the game when Salt and Peppa played in Edmonton in around the same era. I don't know what it is. I don't know why this is so hard for people to get their mind around, why people remember this stuff. And it brings people to the stadium that wouldn't normally come. I'm old enough to have been in the era of sports where we didn't need entertainment to sell tickets. We didn't need it. But for whatever reason, now we do. I don't know why that is. I'm not like everybody else, and I don't think you're like everybody else. But I'm not against it either. If that's what it takes to sell tickets, let's do it. I don't know why anybody would be against this. Do you?
Yeah, no, there's no reason to be against it. That's for sure. Again, it's like when people are harshly against pregame shows or halftime panels or anything that's not the game. They're all there because everybody likes something different. And it's why you go to the fair or you go out, to the mall, and the food court has a bunch of different restaurants, right? Or different options to eat, or different games to play at the fair, different rides to ride. We all like different things. So some of us go just for the game. Some of us want to go for the popcorn and the beer. Some of us for the entertainment, to visit. Some of us want to go just for the social aspect. Let people enjoy it for whatever reason that they're there and just be happy. They don't all have to enjoy it the same way that you do, or everybody else does.
Darren, preach. I put this on the mantle as your legacy show because you're really bringing it today. The problem is people can't accept anybody else's opinion or perspective, and that's what leads to all this fighting. And it's so unfortunate. It's funny that tonight is the NFL schedule release party, and NFL Network's got a 3-hour show planned. ESPN2 has a 2-hour show planned for a schedule. Not that excited about it. I'm going to another Panthers watch party tonight, but I can guarantee you that on another television at Bonefish Max, they'll have the draft. We'll be there to watch the NHL game, but the release party will be on another television. And you know what? A lot of eyes will be on the schedule party. It's like the game 2 of the Panthers and Lightning was up against round 1 of the NFL draft. You remember me telling you this. I had a tough time changing my TV from the NFL draft. And this was the Panthers and Lightning. There's the most salacious matchup I could have NHL-wise, but there's something about the NFL that just hooks you in. How did they do it?
I know. It is wild. They're in all the big markets. They're on all the major networks. They've kind of monopolized, our sports viewing. And part of it is they are on all the major networks. So they've got everybody invested, right? And the more you give people, the more they take some ownership in what you're doing, right? So I think about the networks. Every network has games. So every network has a bit of ownership to try and make sure people watch the games on their network, which means all their personalities are talking about it, hits all the shows, et cetera, et cetera. They've done that. All the major markets, the sports bars, on and on and on and on. One brick at a time, but they've built a castle.
I want to say this while Darren's with me, and we'll let him go. Scott in Vancouver writes in regarding Pete Rose and the Hall of Fame. He says, do they look at character or stats when they do the Hall of Fame voting? Well, number one, it depends what your definition of character is. Number two, they used to only look at stats. But one of the Sutters, I won't name him because he probably won't like it, but Rich Sutter is coming up next hour. It wasn't him. It was one of his brothers said to me, the Hall of Fame is full of guys that I wouldn't let walk my granddaughter across the street. He was talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame. And now they don't put guys in like that. But I know for a fact that the Hall of Fame is full of guys that you would. Theron Fleury, there's not a safer guy. He didn't fall into that category. Like, it's just it's a slippery thing. And the Hall of Fame, to me, isn't as prestigious as it used to be. When I look at who's getting in and who's excluded, it's guys that deserve to be in aren't getting in. What else do I need to say? You know, but it is also nice to be recognized. I mean, I thought I was long past winning any awards, but last year to be named the Broadcaster of the Year in the Western Canadian Baseball League in my first year in the league meant a lot to me. To win the fastest growing podcast award in Florida with Cats and Bolts meant a lot to me. It is nice to be recognized. So it is important that Pete Rose go in. So to say, well, he was a Hall of Famer, so he doesn't need... No. Okay, Moose, I'll see you in hour 2. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. See you then.
We got a mini overtime next. We'll get out quick. Game Plus is where we're at. Also streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a quickie. Mini overtime for our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes as we broadcast from Studio 23. You still got a couple of days to sign up for Friday's Player Development Day at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where hockey season never ends. Player Development Day for all ages. Stop in there and see Randy or Michelle today, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary, and sign up your kid, your grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, whatever. This Friday. Love it. From the text line, 902-518-3033. Progressive Insurance brings it to you. Switch to Progressive and you could save a bunch. Scott Moosejaw says, Team USA is horrible. Norway just scored 4 in the third period to tie the game. Look, the players don't care. That's all I have to say about it. When players start to care about the World Hockey Championships, then I'll start to care about it. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Shoot, Connor Bedard turned down an invitation to go play, so clearly it's not that serious. And I brought that up in my weekend newsletter. You see on the screen where you can sign up for it. Does anybody not care that Bedard declined an invitation? Macklin Celebrini there. Fantilli's there. A save for him being hurt. Why does Connor Bedard get a pass, especially when Crosby and McKinnon are there? But whatever. I'm not banging on Bedard until he gives me a reason to, and he has not given me a reason to. Frank in Airdrie, Alberta writes in regarding Pete Rose. He says, I've always been a Pete Rose backer. He was caught gambling as a manager. He should have been allowed to go into the Hall as a player. How come nobody's thought of that, Frank, but you? That seems so elementary. Can you write a letter to Rob Manfred? Although it's too late. He is reinstated now that he's dead. Way to go, guys. Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, if you go to the game for the food and beer inside the stadium, you need help. See, but that's why you're all here today. Rich in Edmonton he goes, if you're such a CFL purist that you're against added entertainment to bring in new fans, get a grip. I don't need these things. I remember when they first started to introduce salads and sushi and all the things that I don't like at the concessions. And I think Toronto was the first place that I remember it happening. I'm like, what do we need all this frilly? Why? Well, it's more diverse, Rod. Appeals to more people. What's wrong with hot dogs and nachos? That's very exclusionary as far as what's wrong with junk food? Yeah, I don't get it. But I don't get a lot of things. Hour 2 coming up. Rich Sutter will join us, and Moose will be back right after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. Celebrating 35 years of music. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hilarious. Is this an Archie's comic? Who's hotter, Betty or Veronica?
Oh, man, Betty.
We can't sit here and talk about the hottest cartoon characters. It's disturbing. John, by the way, has looked it up, drawing sexual arousal to cartoon characters.
How about that?
I think Rod would do a great interview with an expert on people attracted to cartoon characters. Not happening. It's a sports show.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
We do get into some weird things here, but not today. We're sticking to sports with episode number 1496. I'm in the Florida studio. Moose is in the Toronto studio, and man, isn't that appropriate? Because the Panthers and the Leafs meet up tonight in Game 2. We've already made, Game 5 in a series that is tied 2-2. We've already made our picks last hour. We can re-up them again if anybody wants to. We're having a lot of fun. Some topics have come up that I did not expect. And as a matter of fact, guys, can you hit the quick six show horn and I'll just catch everybody up to speed. That wasn't here an hour ago when we started. NHL leftovers from last night. Winnipeg lost in Dallas and are now trailing the series 3-1, and it could end on Thursday night. Do we expect that to happen? And is this all on Connor Hellebuck? We talked about that. Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson have basically been reinstated by Major League Baseball. Too bad they're both dead, but now we're eligible for the Hall of Fame. That has had a lot of discussion here today. NBA, NFL draft lotteries. The Blue Jays lost last night. They blew it in the 9th against Tampa, but they'll try to win tonight with the Rays in town. And then back to point 5, NHL tonight. And who's the best owner in sports. The reason it came up was I've been talking with Amar Doman this morning. He'll be on this show on Friday. He's the owner of the BC Lions, and many feel he's the best owner in the CFL, and I'm not totally ready to anoint him with that yet because they haven't won yet on his watch. So we'll come back on that. But for the sake of our Toronto viewers, which I think is probably on television where the most of our viewers are, that's where our channel is based, Darren, what do you think will happen tonight in the game? Not in terms of winning, but like more cheap shots? Is Stolar's back? I haven't heard. What do you think will happen in the 60 minutes or more tonight?
Good question. Yeah, good question. I think it's going to be physical. That's definitely been trending up and ramping up. And everything's been tightening up in this series. Like, it was a series where I was wildly surprised with how much scoring there was on both sides. And then all of a sudden it just dried up in game 4. I think this is going to get tighter every single game. I think the goals are going to be more important and less often, less power plays. So they're going to be more critical. I just think everything is getting tighter, more tense. And I think it's going to make for some really fun hockey tonight.
It's going to be a hell of a game. There's been cheap shots in almost every game. I think of Sam Bennett on Stolarz. I think of Max Domi on Alexander Barkov at the end of game 4. And by the way, this morning the Panthers had a morning skate in Toronto. And I am following all these Panthers reporters that are there in Toronto. And I guess Barkov was asked today, how did you feel about the hit from Domi at the end of game 4? And if you know Barkov at all, he smiled and said, I didn't see it. Yeah, of course not. It was from behind. I didn't personally think it was on Barkov, for those that don't know. That's just him. Smart, funny, and a hell of a captain, and probably going to win the Selke Award again this year. So do you think there will be a cheap shot tonight, though? I'm thinking there probably will be.
Depends how the game goes. I don't know. Like, I don't, maybe at the end of the game, if the game is getting out of hand one way or another, and then it could really get interesting. But I think the game's going to be tight. Like, it's probably going to be a tie game or a scoreless game in the third period or a 1-goal game in the third period. And I don't think either team can afford that because you got two talented teams that could make you pay on the power play. It's just, you just can't risk it.
A couple things. Bill Edwards writes in from the Queen City, huge Leafs fan, originally from Toronto area. He says, good morning, Rod and Moose. The Leafs win in overtime tonight. I think the cheap shots stop tonight. That's from Bill. Couple things on that. I'm so glad that I don't live in an NHL market in Canada for this lone reason, the cost of tickets. There's something annoying me about Leaf media. I think that's evident to everybody that's been following this show the past couple of weeks. And here's a reason why. We got squeezed out of the press box because of all the Toronto media, the circus that they travel with. So I'm going to tell you something. I've had to buy tickets for games 3 and 4. And I kind of hemmed and hawed on buying a ticket for game 6 or whatever the hell game Friday will be. Yeah, 6. And, of course, people are going to say, well, you don't think you need to buy tickets? Do you pay to go to work? Do you? So because of these Leaf media that show up, that we have more views on our show, trust me, I've looked it up, we get squeezed out, and it just ticks me off. But I've been having to buy tickets. But having said that, the atmosphere in games 3 and 4, particularly 4, to be honest, was so great. It was worth it to go. And it's Brent from Wellington, Florida, who may or may not be watching right now, that when I say, I don't know if I want to get... No, the Lightning and Panthers in round 1, I got in the press box there. It's a damn Leaf media thing. As somebody said, if Carolina, wins this series and it's Panthers-Carolina in the East Final, you won't have a problem with space for the press box. There's no media in Carolina. So anyways, there's that. My point is the atmosphere is so great, man. I don't want to stay home. So I said to Brent yesterday, I texted him, I said, give me a damn ticket. I got to go. Because I'll be sitting there this summer thinking, why didn't I get a ticket to go? But nowhere near as expensive as Toronto tickets or Edmonton or anywhere else. It's ridiculous amount of money there. And I don't even really need you to respond, Darren, just to say that I got that off my chest. Before I go into another topic, do you have any thoughts on Game 5 tonight?
No, but you're right. You can't get in the door for $500 Canadian. You can't.
Yeah.
Probably in Edmonton or in Toronto. The tickets are crazy, but the demand is through the roof. And but it's fun. If you can get in, man, you're going to have a great time.
I don't regret it. I do not regret it for a sec. I don't. And that's why I relented and said, okay, I'll buy one for what the hell. By the way, Elliot Friedman reporting this morning that Rick Tocchet will be named the next coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. And surprising to no one. I know he was a great there. I believe it was his first team. I hope he can finally turn it around. Now, Ed Snyder was a great owner of the Philadelphia Flyers. They won 2 Stanley Cups there in, 74 and 75. We talked about Amar Doman and is he the best owner in the CFL? He's certainly the coolest. And on the business side, yeah, he's number one. They just haven't won yet. Tony in Cochrane, Alberta writes in and he says, the best owners? Probably the Molson family owning the Montreal Canadiens. Why? They haven't won either. I don't even know if they were the owners in 93 when they won their life. What are the criteria here? A drunk monkey could own the Montreal Canadiens and they would sell out every game at the Bell Center. They're not doing anything special there. The conversation on best owners begins and ends with Stan Kroenke. And if you don't know, what are you watching this show for? Everybody knows. He owns the LA Rams, the Colorado Avalanche, the Colorado Mammoth. They've all won championships, and some soccer team. I don't know what soccer. I don't follow soccer. Darren, it begins and ends with Stan Kroenke. Come on.
He's had the track record of success recently, and that's a big part of it, too. I mean, the business success is really, really important. But winning championships is why you're there, too, right? You want to be a winner. So who's winning, right? I think that's what matters.
Yes, that's why I say, why would you say the Molson family in Montreal? I mean, who's the defending Stanley Cup champion? Vinny Viola down here. Look at the Hunt family in Kansas City where the Chiefs are always winning the Super Bowl. And whatever that guy's name is on the stage with Hunt, with the beautiful wife and kids. The typical NFL owner. The guys that are winning are the best owners. And the teams that are always drafting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the worst. And we know who. Robert Kraft, of course, is the, what do you want to say in that? Exception that proves the rule? What were they, 3rd overall this year? I will say this, and it's NFL schedule release night tonight. I just have mondo respect for, you talked about one more night for the NFL if they had a draft lottery. Look at tonight. They'll probably win the rating. I know, actually, they will win the ratings war tonight. And they're announcing the damn schedule. But anyways, the current Patriots, post Belichick and Brady, are looking a hell of a lot like the Patriots pre-Belichick and Brady. And Robert Kraft was there for both. What's the lesson in that, Moose?
I don't know what the lesson is, but you talk about them drafting first. Yeah, this is a blip. This is the anomaly for Robert Kraft. Like, they'll get this thing back, on track. And potentially we're seeing it again. Is it Mike Vrabel and Drake May? Is that the perfect marriage? Or will it be Mike Vrabel and somebody else? But either way, get the coach, get the quarterback, and then get going. And we've seen it in Kansas City. There's a documentary coming out on them and their little dynasty that they have now. But it's quarterback and coach, quarterback and coach, quarterback and coach. That's the secret to winning in the NFL.
Colin in Ottawa writes in, and I wish that we had Colin sitting right in between you and me, Darren, right in between the two of us. That would be great. And you met Colin at the Grey Cup in Hamilton, because he adds a lot to the conversation. And it is 1:11 Eastern. Thank you, Carlos in Indianapolis, for pointing that out. Colin writes in, he says, be careful praising Stan Kroenke as one of the best owners, Rod, as he was the owner that orchestrated the relocation of the Rams out of St. Louis, even though the fans in St. Louis supported the team. I don't care about that. What's that got to do with whether he's a good owner or not? I don't care. I'm not from St. Louis. I'm sure the people of St. Louis have a different opinion of Stan Kroenke, but I don't care. Oh, my God. You brought up, Colin, something that goes around and around and around in my mind all the time. You shouldn't like this guy because he did this. Every time I even mention Mike Babcock, people lose their ever-loving minds about Babcock. DMing me, guys that played for him, people that worked with him, they hate him. Guess what? He's done nothing to me. Why can't you get through your head? Friends in my own family. Well, I'll stop. Just say people that have caused me an infinite amount of pain in my life. Well, they didn't do anything to me. I have gotten over that. I guess they didn't do anything to you. Stan Kroenke didn't do anything to me. How does that mean that he's a bad owner? What side are you on, Moose?
I mean, teams relocate for all kinds of reasons. So, I mean, I'd have to ask Stan Kroenke about that. But that doesn't take away his ability as an owner or what he's been able to do or the success he's had recently. But recently, he's had a ton of success, and I don't think there's any arguing that.
Carlos in Indianapolis writes that he says, the likes of Robert Kraft and Jim Irsay had personnel below them who made them look good for lengthy stints. Irsay, of course, with the Colts. Let's just remember that we don't know any of these people personally, largely, other than my hairdresser also does Robert Kraft's sister's hair. Again, not a big deal. But they say Robert Kraft isn't a bad guy. I look at Amar Doman. Here's the problem. While I've had issues with owners that I've worked for, and that's jaded me with all of them, they're not all like that. Amar Doman's really cool. This guy here, Vincent Viola, of the Panthers owner, we won't talk about his minority owner, Doug Sifu, but Viola is a really cool guy, and all the staff here will walk on water for him. Carlos says, the people underneath him that cause, well, in some cases, if it's the PR and business people, they're the gatekeepers that keep you away from the owner. Let's put it this way. I'm sure the Lions aren't real happy that I DM'd Amar Doman and said, you want to come on the show Friday? Yes, I do. When? PR people don't like that. But they also know they can't stop the owner from coming on, And then on the operations side, how do we blame Jim Irsay and Robert Kraft for hiring the right people to win them championships? That's what you want them to do. Sorry, I'm getting my mind's all screwed around here, Darren. You're like that. What are you trying to say? They won championships by putting the right people in place. That every owner should do that. Who cares if they're good or bad people? Do you want the owner of your team to be good people? Do you care, Darren? Really?
I want everybody to be, good people in the teams that I follow.
It would be nice.
That's the idea. I mean, for sure, 100%. And good owners, good coaches, good managers are good managers because they have good people below them and they empower them and they lead them the right way. That's how it works. So that's an incredible compliment towards those owners, towards those coaches, towards those guys. When you say they were successful because of these guys, that's the greatest compliment you could give the coach.
Okay, this is just from somebody who's worked and been around sports my whole life. It's so freaking hard to win one game. One game, it's hard. So to win a championship, you win it, but then you want a good person too? I don't care. I don't care. Troy in Toronto writes in on Kroenke. He says, moving from St. Louis to L.A. is a no-brainer. If he didn't move the team, he'd be an idiot. That's an easy business decision. I know, right? Okay, Moose. Enjoy the game tonight. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you enjoy the watch party.
Thank you. Rich Sutter's in next. Get your NHL questions in for him from Hockey's First Family. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Shania Twain.
Let's go, girls.
Live in Moose Jaw. Shania Twain. One incredible show. Live at Temple Garden Center, July 7th. With special guest, Lindsay L. Get tickets Friday, March 21st at 10 a.m. at the Temple Garden Center's box office or sasktix.ca. For more, visit ShaniaTwain.com.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hour 2 is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Fight or Flight. A mercenary takes on the job of tracking down a target on a plane, but must protect her when they're surrounded by people trying to kill both of them. Starring Josh Hartnett, Katie Sackhoff, and Julian Kostov. Fight or Flight is in Landmark Cinemas now. As we mentioned, a member of Hockey's First Family, Rich Sutter, joins us as we talk Stanley Cup playoffs. And Rich, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into the viewer questions because this always goes so fast with you. George in Winnipeg says, Rod, could you ask Rich? Yeah, George in Winnipeg says, Rod, could you ask Rich if it's really Connor Hellebuck's fault or is it the lack of Jets scoring that's going to cost them this series?
I think it's a combination of all kinds of things, starting with everything that's going on out in front of them with the team's game, and then Connor's been very inconsistent, to say the least. And so they've got to get some more big saves from him, obviously, but the play around him has not been up to Jet standards for sure, from my mind.
Go a little deeper if you don't mind. So if it's not all Hellebuck, are you comfortable saying what you don't like about Winnipeg's game?
Oh, everything. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to playoff time, they just can't seem to just go out and play how they do in the regular season. You can't tell me that this does not weigh on some of their top end guys' minds. You can just tell it in the body language. You can tell how they are between whistles. They're not playing to the standard that they've set for themselves. They just erase the playoff thing out of their mind and just go play. They're it's a combination of things that at the end of the day you still got to get a save, right? But there's things that are going on outside the box in front of the goaltender that is not Winnipeg Jet hockey.
Well, and we don't know what's going on in that dressing room. I don't know who their goaltending coach is. I don't know if they brought in a sports psychologist or not. We don't know. And by the way, I don't think the series is over. Did we not learn in Game 7 against St. Louis that these Jets, they do fight to the end? I don't think this is ending on Thursday.
I don't believe so either. They played how they played throughout the year for how many months for a reason, and the record speaks for itself. Yeah, it means nothing. It's a clean slate once the playoffs start. But look, there's a lot of good things they can lean on moving forward. And, the thought process is obviously not about Game 6 or Game 7. It's Game 5 and the first period, and go from there. And they had a really good first period in Dallas yesterday. Weren't rewarded for it. And they got to get rewarded. It's just not about effort right now. It's also about execution.
George, there's your answer. It is not all on Hellebuck. Okay, to the Leafs and the Panthers. Oh, is it fun? It's just fun to watch. I don't know. I'm sure it's just as fun playing in it, Rich. What do you like about this series?
I like that there's a little bit of nastiness. I don't like what happened at the end of the game the other night. I thought it was, I guess that they might think it's tit for tat, right? You did it. You guys act like that. We can act like that too. But I still think at the end of the day, we've got a series now. We know it's a best of 3. Look, I firmly believe in my heart the pressure's on Toronto. Look, they're the team that has never done anything in the last how many decades with a good team they've got. I don't know how Austin Matthews has not scored to this date with the chances he's had in the series. But at the end of the day, I just like the calmness. I like the experience of what Toronto or what the Panthers bring. It looks like maybe finally Bob is making some saves. Look, if he'd been stronger in the first 2 games, this series might be 3-1. Let's be honest. But it's 2-2. They get the goaltending that I would expect them to get tonight, and their experience. I honestly think the Panthers will win tonight.
I got unpicked to win tonight. You knew Bob wasn't going to be a stinker through the whole series. You just knew that. You don't have to watch him every game to know that. But Pronger said this morning on NHL radio that he goes, Austin Matthews hasn't played bad. And Gord Stellick shot back and goes, Harry Sinden said to Cam Neely in the 80s, we don't pay you to get chances, we pay you to score. How do you feel about that?
You're right. You're right. But at the end of the day, Austin Matthews is doing a lot of really good things in his game. The 200-foot game is unlike I haven't seen in him in his career. Like, he's been so much better this year at it, especially down the stretch, especially in these playoffs. He's been very good that way. He's playing against other teams too, top guys. So his job is also just not to score, but to shut down as well. He's doing that. The chances are there. Look, if you're not getting the chances, then there's a grave concern for what's going on with Austin Matthews. Is he quite right health-wise? I don't think so. I don't see him shooting the puck as hard as he has in the past. I don't see him releasing pucks on and off sticks like he has in the past. Maybe some will come out wherever they're done. But look, the chances are there. The chances are there around him with the other guys as well. So I think it's not a matter of if, matter of when he produces, and when that does happen, is that going to be enough? No, it's not. They're not getting enough from anybody else either.
Well, his shot is still pretty lethal. I've watched both games here in person. If he's not healthy, I can't imagine what it's like when he is. Yeah, to Edmonton, Vegas. Well, hang on. If he's hurt, which we all think he is, they're saying maybe Tkachuk's hurt. Guys clearly, coaches want him to play hurt. Players want to play. Draisaitl was hurt in the Stanley Cup final last year. Rich, in your 13 years, give me a story of a guy that shouldn't have played. Maybe you're one of them that did.
I played with a broken back the last 22 games of the regular season and the playoffs. 2 broken vertebrae, and I played. Man, it was probably the worst decision I made, but I was not going to play, and I was not a very good hockey player with a broken back. But I felt I still had something I could give to the team, and so there's lots of guys that play hurt. I just think that hockey players, to a degree, are a different breed than the other sports. And look, all you do is look when Tampa was done with Florida, the lineage that came out 2 or 3 days later about what guys were playing with and the injuries they were playing through. So everyone plays hurt. It's just how effective can you be?
Yeah, well, these Panthers didn't have a full lineup from Four Nations face-off on because Tkachuk missed 2 months, and then they sat Sam Bennett. They sat all these guys. Right. Paul Maurice knew, and nobody really seemed to have a problem with it.
Yep. They kept under wraps. They stayed calm. They let things roll off their backs, which I thought was a great quality that Paul brings to that organization. The players follow him. And he's a perfect guy for that storm right now, and hopefully they can carry it through.
Oilers, Vegas. Your thoughts on this series, please?
Disappointing. The old thing is you're not in trouble till you lose at home. Well, Vegas lost twice right out of the hopper, and they probably should have won the first game. I don't know what happened in game 4. They were very ineffective. Eichel's been very strong, shutting down 29 and 97 to a strong degree, which has been great for him and for the team. But at the end of the day, he's still got to produce something too. So for them to move forward and continue, look, it's the same thing. It's win the first period tonight and win the game. And get it back to Edmonton, because then the heat comes on Edmonton too, right? So at the end of the day, I just think that number 9 and number 61 for Vegas have got to produce tonight. If they can, I believe that Aiden Hill's going to be just fine. But if they can, then hopefully they can get this to game 6. I want to see it extended. Sorry, Alberta, but I want to see Vegas win. I want to see it. At the end of the day, in my heart of hearts, Winnipeg, Edmonton, or Winnipeg, Dallas would suit me just fine.
Well,
or Dallas.
Back to Stone
Vegas.
and back to Eichel and Stone need to be better. Translation: your best players need to be your best players. And to be honest, you were reading my mind. Tell me what Alberta is going through, because there's nothing like it in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's best when the Flames and Oilers are both in, but it's pretty damn good when only one is. What's it like?
Well, there's, you see a few Alberta or a few Edmonton Oilers flags flying around in some vehicles right now in southern Alberta, for sure. I definitely see that jump on the wagon mindset from a lot of people on my, not the Sutter side, but my in-law side. So I just refuse to acknowledge that. I just they're asking how come I'm not really paying attention to the Edmonton Oilers. I said, well, I call it Abe. And they asked me what that meant. I said, anyone but Edmonton. There's 7 other teams. Sorry. But, look, I love Connor. Who's not a Connor fan? I mean, who isn't a Connor McDavid fan? But at the end of the day, I'd love to see Winnipeg or Dallas in the conference final. I'd love to see a Vegas final against one of those 2 teams. That's just my prerogative.
I never met Abe before, but I heard ABC many times. And you know what that is?
Yeah.
Being from northern Alberta, like you are, anybody but Calgary. Well, and let's be real. Since yours truly broke the story about Ken Holland going to the Kings, I've really enjoyed the hubbub, what people are saying about it. And I'm like, let's be real. He built these Oilers. Come on, Rich. Am I right or wrong?
Well, there's no draft picks on their team. I think Ken got pushed out, quite honestly. Look who was brought in. There were Connor's guys, no doubt. People can say what they want, but at the end of the day, that's too purely coincidental how that works. So if it's Ken going to LA, look, there's a lot of pieces in place in LA that he will have to work with that Edmonton didn't have to work with in terms of there's guys already in the system that are ready to take the next steps. There's guys in the system that have taken the next steps in the last 3-4 months. He's got a lot outside of 97 and 29. He's got a lot better group in terms of who's coming and what's coming than he had with what he started in Edmonton. So if he's the guy in LA, the job is just to continue that machine rolling and add a piece or 2, and hopefully they can find a way to take the next step from their process.
Well, and down the road, with the Ducks hiring Joel Quenneville, who wins the Cup first, LA or Anaheim, do you think?
Well, I like what Patty's done in Anaheim for sure, and I like bringing what Joel can bring to the organization for sure. I love the article I saw Greg Cronin a couple days ago about how disappointed it was where, who in the world loses your job after a 21-point improvement in the season? But obviously they feel that with Joel's experience and winning pedigree that he can help this group get to the next step. They're probably right. There's lots of good guys, good young players in that organization I think are definitely ready to take the next step. I definitely saw it in their game the last half of the season. And sometimes it just takes that coach to help get them through the door a little bit more. And they're another up-and-coming team. And they're much younger than the Kings. Does that make them a winner ahead of the Kings? I don't know. But I think having Joel Quenneville there will certainly help.
Hey, the series we haven't talked about, let's just end it on this, is Hurricanes Washington. Canes are making quick work of them. Do you think that I see the Canes are now the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup. Think they're happy with just being under the radar? They always are, but maybe this is the year.
I do. I like what they're doing. I like how they're playing. They're, like you said, they're under the radar. They're playing Rod Brindamore hockey. They got some very good players there that kind of really go under the radar in the National Hockey League. And there's no superstar player there. There's just a team of a lot of real good players that trust the system, trust the structure. They are getting timely saves and finally some goaltending from Frederik Andersen. Which is important. Am I surprised they're beating Washington? No, not at all. They're just playing faster. They're getting contributions up and down the lineup. I don't mean offensively. It's just they're playing the way they need to play to win hockey games at this time of the year. And they're being patient. Their specialty teams are off the charts right now. I think they're 1 and 2 in terms of that area, which is huge at this time of the year. And they're finding a way. They're being patient, and right now they're playing faster. They're playing with more confidence, And right now, they're the better team.
By far. A fantastic chat. Rich, thanks for coming on. Enjoy the hockey. Let's do it again soon.
Okay, talk soon. Thanks, Rod.
Rich Sutter from Hockey's First Family and a teammate of Rick Tockett's in Philadelphia. Probably should ask him about that. Elliot Friedman reporting Rick Tocchet is taking over the bench of the Philadelphia Flyers, which surprises no one. We'll be back with a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way with whatever you would like to talk about. We covered a lot today. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Honky Tonk legend Mark Chestnut. Celebrating 35 years of music. Joined by special guest Aaron Goodvin. June 28th at Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues broadcasting from Studio 23, as you see, for today here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live too, and podcasting wherever you get your podcasts. We have breaking news as we jump to a sports update, and I will tell you, There's breaking news here today, so tell me your thoughts on this. 902-518-3033, Progressive Insurance text line, or the streaming chat. Where are we? The Vancouver Canucks have named Adam Foote as their new head coach. Foote becomes the 22nd head coach in franchise history and replaces Rick Tocchet, who parted ways with the Canucks on April 29th and is rumored to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Foote was believed to be the preferred candidate of Canucks captain Quinn Hughes. How do we feel about that, Canucks Nation? Are the inmates running the asylum? Quinn Hughes wanted Adam Foote over Manny Malhotra. This is the story that I'm reading here, who was the Canucks assistant coach, right? This is the first NHL head coaching job for the 53-year-old Foote, whose only previous head coaching experience came during a season and a half with the Western Hockey League's Kelowna Rockets. Yeah, I'll just leave that there and hope for the Canucks the best. I would like to hear from the people, though, that are watching out in the beautiful province of BC, because the Canucks are the province's team, not just Vancouver. 902-518-3033. How do you feel about this hire? I know this. If I was a general manager or an owner, I probably wouldn't be hiring a first-timer. But that's just me. Even if he was the preferred choice of the captain, I would want a guy that's won. Now, they've had Bruce Boudreau through there. I know all this. I know. They had Tocchet through there. None of it's worked. I'm not a Canucks fan. I want to hear from those that are. And speaking of BC sports, the owner of the Lions, Amar Doman, will be on this fine program on Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. His choice of times. Or if the juggler breaks around a little bit. But when you have the owner of a pro sports franchise come on, including, especially the BC Lions, you accommodate. I've been waiting to say this all day. Caden Lindstrom and Hunter St. Martin each had a goal and an assist. Harrison Menahan made 28 saves, and the visiting Medicine Hat Tigers whipped the Spokane Chiefs 6-0 in WHL playoff play at Veterans Memorial Arena on Tuesday night. That gives the Tigers a 2-1 series lead, with Game 4 going tonight in the Lilac City. Spokane is the Lilac City. I'm going to tell you something. It's every bit as beautiful as it sounds. Medicine Hat up 2-1 in the WHL final. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs will visit the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. The matchup was announced on CBS Mornings today, continuing the release of select marquee games ahead of the full release of the NFL schedule tonight. The Cowboys were part of the first announcement. They're taking on the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to kick off the NFL season on September 4th. The Chiefs are also playing on Christmas night when they host the AFC West rival Denver Broncos on Prime Video. The league plans a triple header for December 25th, which this year is a Thursday, with the other two games on Netflix. The sports update is for Heavy Gym. Heavy Gym isn't just about lifting weights. It's about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. On the Tocchet thing, Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, Rick Tocchet is Mr. Flyer. It only makes sense. Remember watching him in that 86-87 seven-game Stanley Cup final against the Oilers. What a beast. I'm not sure if that was the greatest final ever played. I think it's in the conversation, the greatest ever Stanley Cup final. But what I do think is, and I've talked to guys like Brian Propp, Jeff Chikrin, the Sutters, that was the best team to never win the Stanley Cup. The 86-87 Philadelphia Flyers. Hextall in goal. That was the year that it was the year that they lost the Stanley Cup final, and he won Conn Smythe. Hextall on the losing team. Very rare. We saw it last year with the Oilers and McDavid, of course. I think the 86-87 Flyers were the best team to never win the Stanley Cup. Rich Sutter, by the way, was traded mid-season. Ronnie, though, was on that team, and I'm sure Ron would agree. And I also know Mike Keenan would agree. Rich in Edmonton says he was lucky enough to be at the overtime game number 2 in old Northlands. Yeah, that was some good hockey, but this is some good hockey these days, too. There's no doubt about that. I'm very much looking forward to the Leafs and the Panthers tonight. Sutter picked the Panthers. I picked the Panthers. I didn't even write this down. Moose picked the Leafs and the Oilers. Why didn't I write this down? Exact opposite of me, which, by the way, that's our poll question today. Who wins tonight? And I just got to do a quick update here. In the latest polls, let's see what they're saying. Yep, still leading. You homers. They're saying Toronto-Edmonton will win tonight, the Canadian teams, 48%. I am, as usual, the fish swimming upstream. I've got Florida-Vegas, exactly the opposite. And that trails in the poll. Only 14% agree with me, but that's okay. I'm used to it. Jeff, the Stamps fan, and I knew that he would jump. I knew somebody would jump in on this. I'm not shocked that it's Jeff that does. He says, if no one gives a first-timer a chance, we would rub out of coaches pretty fast. For sure. I'm not saying nobody should give somebody a first chance. What I'm saying is I wouldn't if I was the GM or owner. That's all that I'm saying. Having just seen it all, my thing, we're not providing on-the-job training here. We're here to win. Now, this is where it is very different between what I do and what they do. Several people gave me a chance, and I'd like to think that I rewarded them for that. In hockey, in football, in broadcasting. So it's different than coaching. It's hypocritical of me saying I wouldn't give somebody a first chance, I guess, but I also don't care. Overtime is next. Get your final comments in for the final segment, 902-518-3033 in the streaming chat. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV. Streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Shania Twain.
Let's go, girls.
Live in Moose Jaw. Shania Twain. One incredible show. Live at Temple Garden Center, July 7th. With special guest, Lindsay L. Get tickets Friday, March 21st at 10 a.m. at the Temple Garden Center's box office or sasktix.ca. For more, visit ShaniaTwain.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Here we are for Overtime. And as you know, it's brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. We mentioned it last hour. We're going to mention it again. This Friday is the Player Development Day for players pretty much of all ages. I'm guessing there's no school in Calgary on Friday, and that's why they're doing it. So look up Randy and Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes. You can actually, you don't even need to do that. You can go to their website, overtimehl.ca, and register there and get all the info. Just do me a favor and tell them the RP Show sent you. That would help us out a lot here. So we read the sports update there. We talked about the breaking news out of Vancouver that the Canucks are naming Adam Foote as their next head coach. How about this? Oh, what a godsend to be doing sports talk in the era of technology. Colin writes in and he says, why did Adam Foote only last 1.5 seasons in Kelowna, Rod? Well, like I'm Google or something. I went to ChatGPT. Where the hell did it go? Oh, here it is. ChatGPT. Typed it in. Why did Adam Foote only last 1.5 seasons in Kelowna? Here's what I got. Adam Foote's tenure as head coach of the Kelowna Rockets lasted from October 2018 until February 2020, encompassing just over 1.5 seasons. His departure was primarily due to the team's underperformance during the 2019-20 season. So you could go to Google, you could go to ChatGPT or Ask Rod. I'm just going to go to ChatGPT or Google anyways. Kirk in Toronto writes in and says, Rick Tocchet, good old East Toronto boy. Found myself looking that up as well on the weekend because you look at him now with the shaved head, very menacing looking. But in the 80s, he looked like Bon Jovi. Look it up for yourself. Google it, do an image search. He had hair, more hair than Bon Jovi. It's just hard to believe that he ever looked like a rock star. Because now he looks like a menacing hockey coach. He was a menacing hockey player in the 80s, and we all loved him. And the kind of player that you need to win, like the 87 Canada Cup. The hockey people know this, but do the fans know this? That whole Gretzky, Tocchet thing, they're all interrelated in a winning way, in a good way. Tocchet's the man. And you look at the success that he's had as a coach, it surprises nobody. As a role player. Was never a star. He wasn't. But when you talk about the greatest team that never won a Stanley Cup, he was on it. 86-87 Flyers, and then won the Canada Cup that summer. One of my favorite eras of hockey was the 80s. That was like the time, that was high school for me. That was VCRing, taping games, kids, to watch in the summertime when there was no hockey going on. But the perfect thing was, Canada Cup was being played in the summer. We all win. Jeff, the Stamps fan, as usual, woke up today and chose violence. I'm not getting into it. I was saying earlier that I would not be hiring a first-time head coach if I was a general manager or owner. He doesn't agree. But if you watch this show every day, he never agrees with me. He just likes to fight. I do not. Centennial Cup, we have not talked about at all. today, and I'm actually remiss, didn't talk about it didn't even mention it yesterday. It's going on in Calgary at the Max Bell Center. It's, for those that don't know, the Canadian National Junior A Championship. And here's your schedule today, just about to take the ice, in fact. Cam River, that's that Western Ontario Junior League, versus Sudbury. Melfort versus Valleyfield. Valleyfield is Quebec. Melfort is where they do the Melfort Shuffle. And the night game tonight is Grand Prairie versus Northern Manitoba. Here's a story for you. Since we're sitting here and we're telling stories in overtime, it's no secret. I've told you how much I love the Centennial Cup. I put it in my veins. I'm looking at the standings here. And thank God the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, Kyle McIntyre, is there. And he's like doing all the social media that's where I'm learning what's going on. That's where I realized I should have mentioned it yesterday. And I had remembered that I had not. There's 10 teams there. All from every league but BCHL, obviously. We won't get into it. Sore subject. 10 teams there. 8, right? 8 will make the playoff. And I remember sitting in Estevan talking to Brent Ladd, the president of all of Canadian junior hockey. Brent Ladd, as I'm talking to me to you right now. And I said, what a fascinating format, Brent. This is awesome. 10 provinces, largely, let's say 9 plus the host team represented. And then this format that you have here, 2 pools, top 8 make it. It's genius. And Brent was like, well, we just took the World Junior format, Rod. Not a real big deal. Oh. Don't. BW in Edmonton writes in, he says, how long before Vancouver media or fans chase Coach Foote out? Like the past 2 head coaches. Is it the media, the fans, or is it high up in the organization? I don't know the answer to that. We can only go by what we see, and what we see isn't good. And I guess Jim Rutherford, how many coaches has he hired now? It's not Jim Rutherford's fault, I don't think, at all. Something's not working. We hope that changes. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, writes in, he says, Abe, love you, Rich. Anyone but Edmonton. That surprised me, too. It's an Alberta thing. Thanks to Rich Sutter. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Enjoy the big hockey. Yes, Jeff, violence. We'll see you tomorrow. I know I will. Take care of yourself. Noon Eastern here on Game Plus.
Let's go beat up DuPont.